Hey, this is Paul from Guitar World, and what we'll be looking at today is a brand new contender in the world of high-end and hand-built amplifiers. What we have here is this new company called Blackstar from England, and what we have is the Blackstar Artisan 100 amplifier head along with its matching cabinet. Let's take a closer look at this great sounding half stack. The Blackstar Artisan 100 or A100 is an amplifier in the old tradition of classic amps. It's pretty much very similar to either a Fender Twin or a Marshall Plexi amp. It's 100 watts and it has sort of the same configuration as a Marshall amp, with the exception that we have a voice control over here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But Blackstar uses some of the top of the line componentry. It's also a very loud amp, and along with its matching speaker cabinet, which uses Celestion Vintage 30s, it is certainly in the tradition of a British flavored amp. The A100 is really easy to use. Of course, it is your basic rock and roll amp, specifically a Marshall Plexi. And with that, we have the 4 inputs found on amps like that, with the top inputs being a high sensitivity and the lower inputs being a low sensitivity. The difference is this: in channel 1, we do resemble a gain structure of a Marshall Plexi. And when you bounce over to the second channel over here, the gain structure resembles a little closer to a Fender Twin design. Now, as you move across the knobs here, you have that standard configuration of a Marshall Plexi with your volume 1 and volume 2. The EQ controls bass, middle, treble, and the presence at the end. What sets this amp apart is its voice control. And with this voice control, it works in 2 ways. It changes the gain structure and the damping of the power transformer to resemble the kind of amp it wants to be. So it's a really smart idea. So as you move over to voicing 1, where there are 4 voicings I should mention, when you move over to voicing 1, the gain structure decreases. And as you slowly move up to 4, then you start to get into more crunch territory. And just like a Plexi, the magic begins to happen when you jump channels, of course. I won't show that today, but basically what you would do is you'd get a jumper cable and come out of the low input and go into the second channel. And what you can do is mix and match the 2 volume knobs. So you can get a whole range of sounds blending both those channels together. But for today, we'll stick with just hearing both channels on their own. So we'll begin on the channel 1, which is the Plexi side of things, and we'll listen to the voice control starting with the first position, which is a Fender Bassman. We'll move over to the second one, which resembles a Fender Twin, and then we'll move over to the third one, which is an early Plexi, and followed by the last position, which is a late model Plexi. So you'll get to hear the gain structure through each voice control. So let's start with the Fender Bassman. Now let's move over to the second voicing on channel 1, which is the Fender Twin. Here we go. Position 3 resembles an old Plexi. Here we go. Finally, we get a little crunchier on the 4th and last position, which is a late model Plexi. Now let's stick with channel 1, and what I'm going to do is I really up the volume on this amp so it gets a lot more dynamic and a lot more crunchier. So we'll start again at voice position 1 on the Bassman setting. Here we go. Same sort of deal. Now we're on the Fender Twin, and you'll hear it gets just a hair brighter. Here we go. Now on 3 with an old plexi. Finally, we're on the last bit of it, and here's where it gets very crunchy. Now let's bounce over to the second channel, which has a little bit more of an American flavor. And the same idea applies here. We'll start on the voicing position 1, which is a sort of a Fender Bassman as well. So here we go. Here's position 2, which is the Twin. And now let's listen to position 3. Finally, here is the 4th position. Finally, let's change the gain structure on the second channel. I've dimed the volume up a bit, and let's hear what that sounds like through all 4 positions. Here we go. Now let's hear position 2. Now let's hear position 3. And finally, position 4. Following in the tradition of classic British rock amps, the Blackstar Artisan 100 is built to last and is meticulously constructed. If you're looking for crisp, clean tones and crunch, this amplifier offers startling definition. Definitely check it out.